Mr. Clelland here for Clelland Maths. Today we're doing National 5 Maths and we're on the cosine rule. So we're going to go through the whole of the cosine rule in National 5 Maths, calculator and non-calculator. Remember, get our app, app.clellandmaths.com to go through everything at your own pace. And a lot of these examples are taken from maths.scot. It's an excellent website for your revision as well. Example 1. In the triangle below, xy is 7, xz is 9, cos x is 1/9. It's a non-calculator cosine rule. Calculate the length of yz. Expression your answer is a third in its simplest form. So for the cosine rule, start of the exam paper says that a squared, I'll get this up now, a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Again, we don't really care about the letters there. That's just an arbitrary ABC triangle. We want an XYZ. All that matters is if you've got two sides and the angle in between, you can find the opposite side using the cosine rule. And now, the reason I know it's the cosine rule quite a lot is if I've got one side, two sides, and I'm finding the third side, it's the cosine rule. Or if I've already got all three sides and I'm finding an angle, it's the cosine rule. So three sides to me screams the cosine rule. So let's jump in there. We've got the angle in between. Well, no, but we've got cos x equals 1/9. So the whole of this top angle, once it's done the cos of it, equals 1/9. So that means that when I sub in to the cos here, I'm just subbing in 1/9. I'm not subbing in cos 1/9 or anything, just 1/9. So let's try that. So we've got 9 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 9 times 7 times the cos of the angle. The cos of the angle is 1/9. Dealing with both sides separately, 9 squared is 81, 7 sevens is 49. So I've got that bit, I'll just put that in brackets just to remind me. Minus, now I've got to do a ninth of something. Well, I can do a ninth of 9, which is 1. So it's just 2 times 7 is 14. 81 plus 49, well that's 81 plus 9 is 90, 90 plus 40 is 130. So I've got 130 minus 14, so that'd be 116. But that's a squared, remember, so to find a, it's the square root of 116. So for two numbers at times together to make 116, that's quite a tricky one, but I can see that 4 is probably going to work. So if I try 4, I get root 4 and root 29. Which is 2 root 29, and the units are centimetres, so we're done there. Clelland Maths is sponsored by Lecky, the educational publisher for Scotland. Now, going from National 4 to National 5 Maths can be quite a difficult thing for a lot of pupils. That's why Lecky have got National 4 to National 5 Maths Bridging Skills book. This revises everything from National 4 to help you prepare yourself for National 5. It's got questions on every topic, it's bright and colourful, and it has hints and tips and work solutions to everything as well. This is just £6.99 when you use the discount code Clelland Maths. I highly recommend it if you are now moving on to National 5 Maths. Clelland Maths at leckyscotland.co.uk. Link is in the description. Example 2 in the cosine rule, this time calculator. In the triangle below, RT is 1.3 centimetres, ST is 2.9, and the angle RTS is 108. So I've got the angle in between two sides. So I can use the cosine rule to find the opposite side. 1, 2, 3 sides I'm using, third side being the one I'm finding. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. So the two sides are 1.3 and 2.9. So them squared minus 2 times 1.3 times 2.9 times the cos of the angle in between, which is 108. So I need to do all that in my calculator and then square root it. I've got 1.3 squared plus 2.9 squared minus, and this is where I open my bracket usually, 2 times 1.3 times 2.9 times cos 108 is 12.429988. I'm trying to avoid rounding here, so I'll write all that down because I'm going to round after I've finished. So 12.429988 square rooted is 3.525, which I can just say is about 3.5 2. No, it'll be 3 actually, because it's 3 significant figures, so 3.53 centimetres. And we're done there. Example 3 in the cosine rule. In the triangle, AB is 12, BC is 15, AC is 7. Calculate the size of angle ACB. So I need to work out what one that is. A to C to B, so it wants this angle in here. So let's just take a note of that. It's this one here. Okay, so start of the exam paper says cos A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. And as per usual, don't worry about A, B and C because that's just for an angle A, which would mean that you've got B and C either side. The biggest thing is that the sides either side of the angle are the ones that are first, the ones that you're adding. The other one, the one opposite the angle, because A and A, is the one you're taking away. So I've got to find C. So I need to add the 15 and the 7 and take away the 12. So that's 15 squared plus 7 squared minus 12 squared over 2 times 15 times 7. And where most people make a mistake on this when we're marking the S3 exams is they add the wrong ones, but you only lose a mark if you do that. So just try and get your numbers in. I'll treat that as a top and bottom. So I'm going to do my top, 15 squared plus 7 squared minus 12 squared is 130 over my bottom. 2 times 15 times 7 is 210. No need to simplify it because that's cos A. So to get A, remember, you do the inverse cos. So the inverse cos in my calculator of 130 over 210, shift cos 130 divided by 210, 51.75 or 51.8 degrees, and we're done there. Example 4. A triangle has sides of length 5.4, 7 and 9.1. Find the smallest angle. So imagine we've got 5.4, say 7 and 9.1. I'm just going to draw a random triangle just to try and get this visualized for myself. So I've got 5.4 maybe here, I've got 9 maybe here, 0.1, and I've got 7 maybe there. I have to find the smallest angle. A little trick for you on this one. Sometimes people can't identify what the smallest angle is. The smallest angle is always opposite the smallest side in a triangle. So there's my smallest angle there. Little trick for you to know that. So I now know that I'm finding this angle. Let's just call that angle A for the sake of it. I've got 3 sides, so I'm using the cosine rule. So cos A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. So remember, your B and C are the sides that make up the angle, either side of it. So that's 7 and 9.1. Opposite side is the one you take away. So that's 7 squared plus 9.1 squared minus 5.4 squared over 2 times 7 times 9.1. Do your top and bottom separately. 7 squared plus 9.1 squared minus 5.4 squared is 102.65 all over 2 times 7 times 9.1 is 127.4. But remember, that's cos A. So to get your A back, you do the inverse cos of that in your calculator. 102.65 over 127.4. Shift cos 102.65 divided by 127.4. Close the brackets, 36.319 or about 36.3 degrees. And we're done there. Example 5 for the cosine rule. Ruby is practicing ruler and compass constructions. Good for Ruby. She uses a sharp pencil and carefully rules a line of length 4.8. Okay, let's just do a sketch for this. 4.8 we're saying there. She then uses her compass to measure an angle of 37 degrees. Well, let's just do that then. 37 degrees. Finally, she uses a ruler to draw another line of length 6.3. If she has measured her 2 lengths in the angle accurately, calculate how far apart the ends of her 2 lines should be. So we've got a triangle, basically. That's what we're saying here. And we've got another length, 6.3 centimetres. I think it's asking us, where's the end of one line, where's the end of the other line, how far apart are these two lines? So calculate this side. Bit of a weird question, but there we go. So cosine rule, because I've got one side, two sides, and I find the third side. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a, because I'm finding the side. I'm adding up the sides that are either side of the angle. So that's these two of a b and a c, which means that's our a side and that's our angle a. So 6.3 squared plus 4.8 squared minus 2 times 6.3 times 4.8 times cos 37 degrees. Get a calculator out. 6.3 squared plus 4.8 squared minus 2 times 6.3 times 4.8 times cos 37, was it? 37. That's 14.4285. I'm trying not to round too much because if you round there and round at the end, you've double rounded and it can create an inaccuracy. So just be careful with that because that's a squared. So a is the square root of 14.4285. Which will be good enough because I'll probably round to one decimal place or so. 3.798, which is about 3.8 centimetres. And we're done there. The cosine rule, let's look at some past paper questions. Remember, cosine rule is also given to you in the exam paper. The key points with the cosine rule are, if you're given all three sides of a triangle, you can use the cosine rule to find an angle. If you're given one angle but two sides that go across the angle, you can use the cosine rule to get the other missing side on the other side. Okay, so let's have a look at this. 8th grade National 5 Maths 2015 paper 2 question 3 says triangle A is shown, calculate the length of AB, so I have to calculate this length here. Remember, the cosine rule at the start exam paper says a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. But that is when A is the angle in the opposite side. All you need to remember is the two sides go across the angle. If that's the case, that's your two sides, your B and your C, and that's your angle. So I can immediately just say that I've got 1.2 squared plus 1.35 squared minus 2 times 1.2 times 1.35 times the cos of 35 degrees. And if you can get that far, you get a mark. So remember that's squared. I'm just calling this A to be clear. So you need to do some work in your calculator. You can do it all in one stage or you can do it in bits. If you're going to do it in all in one stage, you could put brackets around this bit minus brackets around this whole bit, and it'll give you your answer in one stage. Or you could do the answer to that and write it, minus the answer to that and write it, and take your time. Whatever you do, as long as you be careful with your calculator, you will get 0.608. And a bunch of our numbers. And then you just square root your answer because that's a squared, so a is the square root of the answer I just found out, which is equal to 0.78 kilometres. 8th grade National 5 Maths 2017 paper 2 question 3 had this question. It says PQ is 250, PR is 180, and this is the angle, and it's building a fence around this. We want to build a fence alongside QR. What is the length of the fence? So we need to work out the length of QR. So once again, just checking, as long as I've got the angle in the sides, either side of the angle, I can use that to cosine rule to find the opposite side. So I'm going to label this side my A. We could even call that angle A if you want, just for the sake of it. And then that would be my side B and that would be my side C. Doesn't really matter which is which. So we write down the cosine rule from the start of the exam paper. We'll always go back and check it. B squared plus C squared minus 2bc cos A. Substituting in 250 squared plus 180 squared minus 2 times 250 times 180 times the cos of 147 degrees. Remember, we could do that in one step in a calculator. Put brackets around this, minus brackets around the whole of this, and you will be fine to go. And if you do that, or you take your time on it, you get 170,380.3, and that's a squared, remember though. So that's just got 2 marks so far, substituting and getting a squared. So now just calculate our a. The square root of 170,380.3, and you get an answer of 412.77 meters. 5 maths for 18, paper 1, question 10. So this is a non-calculator. It says side x, z is 10, zy is 8, cos z is 1/8. Calculate xy. So it tells you the cos of z instead of the angle, so you don't have to work it out. But it's still cosine rule. I've got 2 sides and the angle in between to find the opposite side. So if I just call that my a and that my a, I can just change that to an a. So then we've got a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Substituting in, that is 10 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 10 times 8 times, well, the cos of a is 1/8. Non-calculator, so you're just going to have to do some non-calculator work on this, I'm afraid. 10 times 10 is 100. 8 times 8 is 64. Luckily, I've got 8 times an eighth, so that's 1. 1 times 10 is 10, times 2 is 20. So take away 20. Which gives us a final answer of 144. But remember, that is a squared. So a is the square root of 144, which is a nice round number, which is 12 centimetres, because 12 times 12 is 144. And finally, we'll look at an example of using the cosine rule to find an angle. A-Square National 5 Maths 2019, paper 2, question 7 had this. It had a triangle with all 3 sides shown. Find the smallest angle in this triangle. Now, you may be wondering, how do I know what the smallest angle is? Well, it's pretty obvious just from the way it's drawn as well, but it is this one. So we'll use this as our smallest angle. So we'll label that A, and that'll be side A. And then the other 2 sides can be B, side B, and C, side C. Now, calculating the angle, I know to use the cosine rule because I'm given all 3 sides. From the start of the exam paper, cos A equals b squared plus c squared minus a squared all over 2bc. You don't need to remember that, you just need to be able to use it. So we'll just substitute all our numbers in, being very careful. So b squared is 8.5 plus 7.2 minus 6.3 squared. You're always taking away the 1 which is opposite the angle, all over 2 times 8.5 times 7.2. That's cos A. If you can get that far, that's a mark. So then we can do the inverse cos of our answer. Now, let's just tidy this up a little bit. If we work out our top, we get 84.4. If we work out our bottom, we get 122.4. Now, at this stage, you can either just divide them to get 0.689 or do the inverse cos of that fraction. It doesn't really matter what you do. And that means that A equals the inverse cos of 84.4 over 122.4. In a calculator, you get A is 46.4 degrees for your final answer. A-Square National 5 Maths 2023, paper 1, question 6. AC is 5 metres, BC is 6 metres, cos C is a fifth. Calculate the length of AB. So this is one of those questions where we're using the cosine rule, but we're giving you the cos of the angle, so you can just go straight away. So let's remind ourselves of the cosine rule. Let's start with the exam paper. The cosine rule is A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos of A. Now that's just a generic A, B and C, remember, so you can either relabel your sides to get your A, B and C where you want it, or just remember that the side A is the one opposite the angle that you're given, which is cos C. So I'm going to do it that way. I'll just call that my A, and I'll just call that my B and C, and therefore that's my little a there. So I can say that my A squared equals 5 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times 5 times 6 times the cos of A, which is cos of C, because that was originally C, remember, so that's a fifth. And now we can start working on that. A squared equals 25 plus 6 sixes is 36. 2 fives is 10. 10 sixes is 60. A fifth of 60 is 12. So minus 12. So A squared is 36, 46, 56, 61. Minus 12 is 59, 49. And therefore A is the square root of 49, which is just 7 meters. And then just to answer the question then, it says calculate the length of AB. Length of AB equals 7 meters. And that's just to be on the safe side because I've relabeled the sides, but you'll probably be fine if you didn't do that.
24, paper 2, question 3. AB, AC, and BC is in a triangle, 25, 18, 34. Find the size of a shaded angle. So I've got 3 sides of a triangle. So I say 3 sides means the cosine rule. So you go back to the start of the exam paper and copy the cosine rule for an angle, which is cos A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. Cos A equals B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. SQ have been quite happy here that we're giving you A and that's A, so that's B and C. But I don't really care about the letters usually. In between is your B and C and the angles in between. So it's 18 squared plus 25 squared minus 34 squared over 2 times 18 times 25. Usually work at my top and bottom separately. 18 squared plus 25 squared minus 34 squared is minus 207 all over 2 times 18 times 25, which is 900. So that's cos A. So I do the inverse cos. I usually just keep it as positive and use a cast diagram. But we'll see what happens if you did it negative. You'll probably be okay. But I'm going to always do it that way because it's the right way to do it. Inverse cos 207 over 900 is 76.7 degrees. So now I need to find my angle by using a cast. Cos is negative, so it's not A and C, it's S and T. So that means that my answer for A is 180 minus 76.7. Which is 103.3. So we get 103.3 degrees, and we're done there. Now, let's just check what would happen if you'd done shift cos and done minus 207 over 900. Happily, your calculator will give you it as 103.3, so you're done there. Now, I never do that. I always use the cast diagram when cos is negative, so I'm consistent with all my working. But there we are.
It's been Clelland Maths today. We've done the whole of the cosine rule in National 5 Maths. Hopefully you found that useful. Remember, we've got a weekly members-only live streams, and we've also got our app at app.clellandmaths.com. Take care, stay safe, and goodbye.